Los Angeles, I'm and most Hollywood nights. She goes to California, oh, California.
What you say about Los Angeles?
LA got the people saying.
You're listening to Corner of the Galaxy on cornerofthegalaxy.com. Welcome to Corner of the Galaxy, the show that talks 100% LA Galaxy soccer. We're glad you could join us. Now it's time to sit back and relax as your hosts navigate through the twisting, turning, but never boring world of the five-time MLS Cup champion, LA Galaxy.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to Corner of the Galaxy on cornerofthegalaxy.com. I'm your host, Josh Guesman, coming to you on Thursday, August 1st, the LA Galaxy getting ready for their matchup against Chivas on Sunday that could and possibly propel them further in the tournament. Already qualified for the next round, but where could they go? How could that work? Do they even need to play hard against Chivas? A bunch of different answers, a bunch of different questions. We're going to talk about all that, plus another win over San Jose. The LA Galaxy are owning them, right? It's not even close. We have the stats to back it up. We're going to talk about that game, get you through that, all right? So a lot of stuff coming up, some exciting things. We're glad to have you, and to help me do all that, he's back. We're glad to have him. It's Eric, the Portuguese Hammer Vieira. Eric, how's it going, buddy?
It's going well. It tastes very sweet in here. We're advancing in the League's Cup, everybody. Let's go. We did it. We're on to the next round. Mission accomplished. We set out all we needed to do in one game against San Jose at Dignity Health Sports Park North. I like that. Shout out to the social media team. That was nasty work. Well done. Again, you beat San Jose. It always feels good. It always feels good to beat them. So, again, we're riding high. Chat's good. I'm good. Hopefully my voice hangs in there.
Right.
I have my life update going back to work, and I have to say this. I'm a bit upset.
Right.
Those of you who have been working remote, you know how they say, like, hold your loved ones closer. If you're working remote, hold up, appreciate what you have.
Right.
Man, I'm telling you, this whole, like, actually working for a living stuff, I don't like it.
You don't
I'm losing
like it
my voice. I'm tired. I have to, make stuff happen.
You have to be
wake up
somewhere at
in
a
the
certain
morning.
time. Yeah.
I don't like this. So again,
Ridiculous.
I say that all in jest, but if you are working remote, normally rule number 1, don't talk about Fight Club, but if you know. So appreciate what you have.
Well,
that's my little rant. Good night, everybody.
Yeah. Good night. There we go. No, it is a struggle sometimes. We decided that my son had to get up a little bit earlier because we're just racing to get out the door too many times and whole deal. So my wife and I last night we were talking, we were having a discussion, and we're like, okay, we just need 10 more minutes. That's all we need. We need 10 minutes. So let's change our alarms to 10 minutes earlier, and we'll be there.
Makes sense.
Everything. That's what you do. That alarm went off 10 minutes earlier, and I was like, what is going on? Where is this? Is it still light out at this time? I don't even know. It's not even like it's... And in college, I used to work at golf courses, and I've had jobs where I've been up at 3:30, 4 o'clock in the morning on a regular basis and worked, early shifts. And I've worked late shifts and done the whole thing. I can switch between those, but good Lord, the 10 minutes, I was like, well, like, do I get up now? Like, what's my timing? How do I need to do this? So
and then you hit snooze for 10 minutes, and then you're right back where you started.
Right back where we did. By the way, I would like to point out we did not make it out of the house any earlier.
Of course.
It was basically the same exact time, but we're working on it.
We're trying,
we're trying.
It is what it is.
The LA Galaxy doing some trying, maybe making some people nervous as they went up to San Jose. This is. Greg Vanny talked about it afterwards, and I don't mean to jump to the end before we even talk about the beginning, but he said, somebody asked him, this is the 4th time you've beat San Jose this year. Like, were you worried about facing them again? Is there a mental edge there? And for me, whenever I see this stuff, I'm always like, There is no mental edge whenever you beat somebody 3 times in a row. There is. You think that there should be. There is not. There is a chance to be complacent. There's a chance for the other team to be like, we need to do something. We're desperate. We need something. We're going to claw. We're going to kick. We're going to grind. We're going to do everything we can to win because we're tired of getting our butts kicked, right? So there was all of that. That was sort of, I think they were talking about the U.S. women in the Olympics, and the coach for the U.S. women's national team called the game against Australia, I think, a banana peel game. Right. Yeah, okay. And they're like, what is that? They're like, no, we call it a trap game. That felt like a trap game. Same for idea. The banana peel game up in San Jose, it was a banana peel game. It was, you're in a competition that you're expected to go up there and win. You're expected to go up there and win on the road, which should not be expected in Major League Soccer. Let's be very clear. But you're expected to go up there. You're expected to keep beating them. You're expected to expand this like gap and this, canyon that is starting to develop between the two teams, because there's very clearly a separation between the two teams. And all of that being said, you're going to have to fight for this game, and it's not going to be easy. And so I thought that it was totally up to the Galaxy to lose that game. And they fought against that trend, which was nice to see. Yeah,
and I think it even can be said that the Galaxy maybe did fall into a little bit of complacency, because I think you're no matter how many times you try to pump yourself up and tell yourself, every game's new and you can't take your opponent lightly. You've beaten this team 3 times. If you've someone like Joseph Painsil who's scored against them every time, you have that in the back of your head, that this is the team that, we should be able to beat them. We've benefited. And maybe you did see the Galaxy in moments kind of look not at their best. And so I think to be able to walk out of there with 3 points and a win when you don't look your best against the San Jose team, that really says a lot too. And that just adds to that mental edge. How many times have we talked about teams having our number when they come into Dignity Health Sports Park, the Colorados, the Vancouvers, regardless of form, for whatever reason, we can't seem to beat this team. So to have it flipped where we're now that team, we're the big bad, monster for San Jose, and every time they see us on the calendar, they have to shake in their boots a little bit. That gives you something, and that adds something that says, hey, we can play a game where we make mistakes and we give them chances, and we're still going to walk away on top. I think that's something that we could talk about the flaws in the game, and we could break down those moments, but there's something that also adds even more to that lore, or that feeling of superiority over those rivals. That's really important. Not just now, but in future seasons as well. Next season, when those games to San Jose come around, they're going to say, "Hey, last season they beat us 4-0. We're not talking draws or winless or." What do we like to say? Winless or unbeaten and those type of those type of things. No, this is just 4 wins over them, and I think that's something that's huge. That's going to carry over into next season when you look at the teams.
3 on the road, by the way, as well. Yeah. Let's be very clear. 3 on the road for all those things. Victor says, "Happy birthday to my bro Dixon." So happy birthday, Dixon. That's awesome. Thank you. We're glad everybody's in here. I will say that. You can look at the LA Galaxy, and they had chances to sort of, falter in this game, and we can take a look. The other sort of lead up to this is, and I think we have to acknowledge it, is that San Jose had already played a game. They had already played against Chivas. They were already in the tournament. They basically, they were winning that game. It was. Somebody said, "Oh, the Galaxy have a comeback win." I'm like, no, they were never losing in that game. That's not how that works. It may have felt that way at some point.
Didn't look pretty.
No, it was an uneven match to start with. But having said that, you have a team that has momentum. You have a team that is this is their only hope, their only chance this entire season. I mean, by the way, could we point out this is the first Leagues Cup game the Galaxy have ever won? That's it. They lost 2 last year. This is
do we count the Leagues Cup showcase?
No.
From several years ago.
That's not
Leagues
part
Cup,
of
BC, whatever, or AD, wherever we're at right now. This iteration, our first Leagues Cup win. Okay, I'll allow it.
Okay. I'm getting an important text message from my son. He's asking me, what is the rock ride from Disneyland? Are we going with Matterhorn on that one? I think we're going Matterhorn.
The rock. See, but I think Big Thunder Mountain. There's a lot of rocks on that as you go up.
There's always something.
Matterhorn's the mountain ride.
It is, but like to hit Mountain Rock, like, you know, I don't know.
All right.
I don't
Hey,
know.
I'm just saying.
I don't speak 4-year-old. That's what it is. No, but you look at this, the Galaxy get their first win, right? Now it's funny because we're going to talk about Chivas coming up, and the Galaxy have a record against Chivas. They beat them in the Leagues Cup showcase, right?
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, I know. And so you still sort of count those things, but you can look at this. I think there were a lot of things that could have gone wrong for the LA Galaxy. I thought the first half was plotting a little bit, but I don't think that they were rushed. I don't think that they were trying to overcomplicate things. And, you know, really it was that final ball. And a lot of times when the Galaxy struggle, it's about that final ball. San Jose trying to pack the box, trying to keep things compact in the back. So that's usually where the Galaxy struggle to do it. You do have to look at, and let's point out for the starting lineup here. Galaxy, this is an A+ starting lineup. I know Mitrovic comes in and you can switch him out from McCarthy. That's okay. You can switch him out from McCarthy anytime in any lineup. So to me, A+. There's no like, hey, we're taking it easy here.
And when you look at leagues around the world, you have your cup keeper essentially. So again, it's not uncommon to swap out your keeper and keep your main roster out there. I'll say this. Leading up to this game, it feels like the Galaxy have played some of their best games of the season with this iteration of the lineup. And I text you and I mentioned it. Joveljic being out, I know we're not calling that an issue yet, but I just worry about this version of the Galaxy with Paintsel up top and then Puig in the center and then Pec and Fagundes on the wings. You don't want this to be the best version of the Galaxy. You want the best version of the Galaxy with your number one A striker on there. So that's my caution going into this. I know Joveljic is going to get the rest, and I know they're going to try to work him back in when he comes back from injury. But that is the one thing that concerns me is it's what a weird problem to have. But how well they've played, that this feels like it could be the best version, and it's one without their goal scorer. So,
but you play this game whenever Riqui Puig is out, and then Fagundes is in there. And you're like, don't change anything, and that's the whole thing. Is that I think it's very important to level set in this tournament what you're trying to do, and Greg Vanney did that ahead of this tournament. He level set it. He said, we're going to use this tournament to rotate guys in. We're going to use this tournament to get guys going. He goes, you're going to need to get everybody because everybody playing on this team, and there's guys who we want. He mentioned Gaston Brugman. He mentioned Garces, right? He goes, we need to get those guys more time, and in. And so this is the level set. When your coach is telling you we need to work guys in, that means sometimes you're going to get a sub when you don't want a sub, but you need to get somebody minutes. And I can't believe the overreaction that came in whenever Gaston Brugman came in. Greg Vanney told you he was going to come in this game. He's like, we need to get Gaston Brugman minutes. And by the way, let's be very clear, because we talk about this so much. I think FIFA has rotted people's brains in a lot of ways of how you think about players. You can't get a guy into game playing shape by not playing games. And so they have to play games. Now, you can get them. No,
that's not true. You could get the extra health card and apply it. And instead of him taking 2 games, you just click the button and he's fine.
He comes in. The whole thing is that, like, he needs 20 minutes in this game. And then the next game, he probably needs like 45 minutes. And then the next game, he needs 60 minutes. It doesn't matter what the score is. It doesn't matter what situation you were in. You're going to have to get him minutes. And Greg Vanney's like, we are first in the Western Conference in Major League Soccer. This tournament, it'd be nice to win it. And if our guys get hot, trust me, I mean, you can see this in this team. If this team gets hot, and Vanney also said he wanted to use this as sort of a dress rehearsal for knockout tournaments, right? Yeah. You're getting that. You're doing it. But sometimes that means, and everybody, hold on, just cover your heart already because you're going to want to pass out. Make sure there's somebody near you that can revive you later. That means that sometimes the Gaston Brugman sub is a perfect example of that. You might risk something whenever you're trying to change things up. Why would you take Cerrillo out? Because Gaston Brugman needs minutes. That's why. Well, you could have taken somebody else out. You could have taken somebody else out. You didn't. Cerrillo gets to come off. He gets a rest. That's Gaston Brugman playing in the formation with the people around that he's going to be playing with is all important steps of that. And so I think the Discord eventually settled down at the end of the night. And they're like, I'm okay with losing games if it means that this team is ready to go whenever you come back. And it's a balancing act. Greg Vanney didn't want to lose that game. You
only have 2 games. You don't have the luxury to say, well, we have other games coming out and then in the next month where we can work Gaston back into true, competitive football matches where you make it work. You only have these 2 games,
Right.
guaranteed. So yeah, it'd be great if you were up 2-0 and you could bring him in and you can afford some mistakes, but being only up 1-0, and I think Gaston Brugman, if he doesn't make that mistake, we're not talking about it. It's a non-issue.
Right.
But it's because he makes a mistake. It's, well, why did you bring him in? And why is this the time to do it? I think, like you said, the level setting, knowing that if you only have these 2 games, then you give him this game and you give him the next game. You don't say, well, we need to grind out the result. So now you're going to give Brugman for the first time, you're going to put him out for 60 in the Chivas game. I don't know that that's the best idea either. You can't do that.
You can't do it. It doesn't work.
Yeah.
Like, you can't work somebody by just go play 90. Go play 90, Gaston. You'll be fine. Yeah.
So this is all part of the process. Again, I think if they were down 1-0,
trust the process.
If they were down 1-0, you'd see the same sub.
Right.
Yeah.
Which again means that there was a plan in place, and the plan was that Gaston Brugman's going to get the last 20 minutes of this game. That's sort of like that's it.
There we go. We figured it out.
It.
We solved it, folks.
That was the whole thing. It's like, well, in this situation, no, there was no situation. Gaston Brugman was getting 20 minutes at the end of this game, and
regardless, irregardless,
because Aaron's in there. Yes, absolutely. And he pulled the reason that you want him in the game is that way the moments that he had, and it was a very bad moment, doesn't happen. By the way, Mitrovic.
But do it now against San Jose in the first game of the League's Cup.
Yep.
Get it out there. Yeah.
Well, because it's not just about physical, it's about mental, and it's what happens to your mental whenever you're being physical again, right? Like there's Greg Vanney talks about it, and whenever guys get real tired, there's a brain fog, right? And it is like you're like, I'm just tired, like I'm gonna kick the ball, I'm just tired.
Survive,
yeah, it's survival, right? And you don't make the smartest decisions. And in this particular case, Gaston Brugman comes on. As soon as he comes on, he fouls somebody right at the top of the box, which gives a good chance. And then Mitrovic shouldn't have played the ball. I'll be 100%. Why? You're up 1-0. Why are you trying to force that into the center with Gaston Brugman pointed back at your own? Now, the other part of that is there's if we do a blame pie here, 25% on Mitrovic, don't play that ball. 75% because there's like 2 errors on Gaston Brugman here. He could have played the ball backwards to Mitrovic again and cleared that out, or he doesn't try the like side back chop.
It was too cute. He got a little too cute with it. And I'll say this, and I don't know that if it lines up exactly to when Brugman has been out, but them playing out of the back has always been risky. And there's been those mistakes at the beginning of the season where it kind of drove us crazy. Where they've gotten better defensively has been with playing it out of the back. And it comes through working out those errors at the beginning of the season that gave them the ability to be better. So the Galaxy have been better in those situations. I think there's a lot of balls, that are played through either whether it's Jalen Neal or Maya Yoshida, where I could easily see errors like that happening. They thread the needle, they make it work, and they've improved in that.
Right.
But they're not less risky. They're still risky moves.
Right.
But it's just you see Jalen Neal is unfazed, and he's so calm when he makes it happen. Yoshida is not going to, try anything cute, to do a behind the back or to try to flick something up. He's going to play it simple. He's going to go back to the keeper. So I think that's the difference in it. It's not that they're less risky. It's just the situations that they're in, it's making those different decisions for the players. So again, they've gotten better at that. It's just, it reared its ugly head again yesterday.
The Galaxy he struggled through that first half, and not struggled, but they gave up. They had the possession. They actually had the better of the chances, by the way. I know San Jose had 2 really good chances. By the way, San Jose didn't have that many shots on goal. Most of those came in that first half when they had like 2 or 3, and that was it. But those were good chances. Mitrovic came up big, and also if San Jose is actually a good team, they probably put either of those balls to the corner, and they're easy goals. Instead, Mitrovic stopped both of them. But no knock on Mitrovic. You make those saves.
That's my good news, bad news. The good news is Mitrovic looks great, and so he gave me confidence as our cup keeper. The bad news is Mitrovic looked great because he had to have his number called upon to be in those situations to make those saves. So I think it's a good and a bad thing to have it. So, did we want him in those situations? No. Did he make the saves that he needed to? Fine. So I think it's a wash and you make it work, with Mitrovic working forward. I don't think this is a question where, well, he let in the goal. He gave a bad ball to Brugman, so maybe we should switch McCarthy back in. I don't think that's that. I don't think that should be part of the discussion.
I would expect that McCarthy would have made that same mistake in that position, right? Like that's very typical of how the LA Galaxy make mistakes, and I think it's not system, because I think even Greg Vanney would be like, I would rather you not play that ball. I really do. Greg Vanney gets upset about clearing long balls. He's not going to get you upset about clearing long balls when it's 1-0 and the game is winding down in the last 20 minutes or so.
Yeah.
He doesn't care at that point, right? And I think he would agree with me on that. I don't know. Maybe we'll have to. Do you care, Greg?
My pushback would be McCarthy in games 1 through 14 maybe would have made those mistakes. I've actually seen improvement in that. He's learned that to cut his losses. I think he now knows, if I don't see it, I'm going to go with a long ball, even if it's not the best option. I've seen him better with that decision making as the season's gone on.
So, that first half, the Galaxy had a lot of possession. You could sort of see, and the only thing I'll say is that I do think that there was impatience in the final ball, and that's where the Galaxy always struggle, right? Is trying to be patient with that last ball. Mm-hmm. It's funny because we talk about it. There's two sides to the Galaxy when they play bad. And one of them is that they tend to overpass, right? Now, they'll overpass when they're playing poorly, and then to counter that, they'll underpass or be less patient with their shots when they finally do get a shot. So they'll overpass in order to get to the final third, and then when they're in the final third, like you saw a lot of what Riqui Puig was doing, taking shots from 25 yards out, rushing.
So with Pec as well, where maybe the better option was the pass, the layoff to Paintsill or to center it back, for the trailing runner, and he decided to take the shot, which, I always go back and forth on these especially with a player like Riqui Puig, Paintsill, and Pec, all three of them really, they kind of earned the right to take a lot of those shots, because when you put yourself in the position, you're an attacker, you don't get tons of those opportunities. So I don't get really upset, for them to make that decision. But sometimes you do wish that they would just make that extra pass when it seems like it's right there waiting for them. Because you're right. Sometimes it does seem it's careful what you wish for. Yeah. Because then when it seems like they try to make too many of those passes inside the box, you cut in, Yamane cuts in, it goes back to him, the give and go, and then they try to square it up on the back post. And it's like, why did we do this so many little dinks and dunks? Just, go to goal and be more direct and, wait for the magic to happen. So it's just one of those damned if you do, damned if you don't situations.
It feels that way. Let's go to the first goal now. We have to talk about Diego Fagundes, and we have to have a serious conversation about Diego Fagundes, because
it's time to start a dialogue about Diego Fagundes.
This is an after school special. We need to talk about this. Okay. There's an argument, and I think it's a pretty robust argument, that Diego Fagundes might be the LA Galaxy's MVP. Now, wait for a second. I didn't say he was the best player, the most talented player. I didn't say any of that stuff. So calm down, because a lot of people equate that. I think if you're talking about the most talented player on the field, it's probably either Riqui Puig or Gabriele Pec right now. That's what I would say, okay? But looking at what Diego Fagundes has offered to the LA Galaxy since he's come in, and remember, we, at the beginning of this year, were like, he's probably not a starter all the time, which he shouldn't be if there's not injuries, right, in the whole deal. He's probably not going to be a starter all the time, but he's going to get a lot of minutes. This is a guy who was uprooted from Austin last year, and he's been, I think, pretty open about just how disappointing and how much that screwed everything up. Remember, that was towards the end of the transfer window too, right? So you're talking about like into August, into those times. And he's a guy who, was all in on the Austin stuff, right? 100%. He wasn't having a great year. You had problems with Josh Wolf at Austin. They weren't getting along. Yeah, go ahead.
But he was the face of the club.
He was.
When they became a franchise, they talked about, the supplemental draft or going after players who you're going to build your roster around. And when they got Diego Fagundes, he was the face of the club. I believe he was the first player to score in a competitive match for them. And so I understood 100% why the fan base was upset that they let him go. I thought, if I'm being honest, I was having this conversation with my brother about, because we were talking about how great Fagundes has been for this team, is I thought we were getting a little bit of damaged goods a little bit further along in the season. Maybe we're getting a tail end. But you see a rejuvenated Diego Fagundes, it's like, man, how did this almost looks like a steal now. It almost looks unfair with what we were able to take away from Austin. And now it really comes into focus on why they're so upset that he's gone.
Let's focus on him just a little bit more, though. We looked at him in preseason. Kevin and I had him on during our Coachella podcast. Came over, was happy to do it after the game. Really nice guy. First time I got to meet him in person, say hi, the whole deal. at least in that setting. And he was talking about how he wanted to come into this year more focused. And he was talking about, and Damian Calhoun, who's in the press box with us, and I love Damian, pointed out again, because I sort of recounted the story on Twitter last night. Damian Calhoun said he came in lighter, lighter in terms of weight. He looked more jacked. He looked ready to go at the preseason, and you saw him in preseason. I think he was one of the guys who were like, okay, this guy can play. Like, you're like, this is a thing. He came in determined to show that what we saw from that, half season, last couple whatever games, wasn't what he wanted to show. And you have a guy now who is, and this is why, Tom Bogert was talking about who they might have to move in order to get Royce in. And, say, Diego Fagundes at $1.3 million would have been a big ask for somebody. But the way he's playing, I imagine there's plenty of teams who would be like, I want to find the money for 1.3. But it always felt wrong that Diego Fagundes would leave, because you're talking about a guy who is like a flag holder for the system, a flag holder for the team. Like, that's a veteran leader. He's 29 years old. That's a veteran on this team. Scott French asked him a question, I think, after the last game, not the Leagues Cup game, in the MLS game, and he goes, well, Diego, you've been playing, in Major League Soccer for what, half your life, right? And he's like, yeah. I mean, well, so I think he debuted when he was 15 or 16, and he's 29.
So if he's okay, I was gonna say if he's 30, that's half right there.
So the whole deal, and Diego was sort of shaking his head like, man, I think you just called me old, right? But he was also like, you're right though, it's not a thing. But you see him, and Diego is motivated. He's locked in. He is a champion and a cheerleader for everybody on that team. Yeah. You saw when he, and we're getting to the goal and the way that he plays, but this guy is everything that you could have asked for. And there were so many people, and I think rightfully so, questioning the $1.3 million price tag, questioning whether or not, as you said, damaged goods, the best years are behind him.
And we had Tyler Boyd, who had a great season for the Galaxy, playing on the wing.
Yep.
So we're going to get rid of Tyler Boyd and keep Diego. I mean, all fair points going into 2024. And man, has he made us look absolutely foolish. And I know we're going to talk about the goal. That's the next thing to talk about. But I would like to say before we get there, Diego Fagundes, the first player ever in history to score in the Liga G, PlayStation, Xbox league in the same week as scoring for the LA Galaxy. That's legend. That's stuff that legends are made of. So to be able to score in the LA Galaxy fan digital league,
tell people exactly. But he played FIFA with you guys, right?
Yeah, it was such a cool situation. He didn't play on our team, unfortunately. We weren't blessed to have him on our team, but we got special news. The league, this is going to sound like a slight, but it's actually a good thing. They take themselves very seriously, and I think you have to. Whenever there's rules and you have to have certain roster spots, and you want to make sure that everyone enters their sets to make this the most fair game possible. Right. And in terms of players being available, you don't want teams getting stacked. You want to make sure you spread around the talent, and that there's no funny business in terms of people quitting teams and joining other teams just so they could, jump ship whenever their team's not doing too great. So all that to say, it is not a cool move to bring in a player who has not played in the league the day of a game and throw that, hey, where'd you get this ringer who's going to come play with you? That's an unfair situation. Right. But we got news the day of, just so you know, there's going to be a ringer today, but it's Diego Fagundes. And so I don't think anyone can be upset about that. And so he Twitch streamed. He played for Galacticos. I think they won a game and lost a game, but he ended up scoring of course for them. He played well. He had a fun time. And that's what it's all about. And so to make that connection, that's how you become, and I'm not going to spoil anything. We talked about some players who are maybe legends of the team and who are
you can say it. AJ De La Garza, Alan Gordon, Mike McGee, right?
We were talking about AJ De La Garza before the show, and he's a player who is just, we talk about for once a G, always a G. He's just in the hearts of every LA Galaxy fan. Always. Doing stuff like this is what's going to make Diego Fagundes a forever G, which is crazy because he played so long in New England, was the face of Austin, and now he's ours. He's ours now. And so to be able to have that little bragging point and then to have him go out and continue to ball out and get his goal in Leagues Cup, I mean, that just, I'm like, hey, we played, I could tell my kids, we played video games with this guy. Look, follow your dreams. You could play video games and professionally all in the same time and have a good time. So just, that's my fun little stat with Diego there.
But I mean, we see it now. On the goal, this is a guy who understands the movement, the flow, and the again, I think sort of one of the crazier things that we see is that he's played in a bunch of different positions this year. playing on that left wing. He went and there was a ball. Jalen Neal, I think, got the ball to Gabriele Pec. Gabriele Pec eventually got the ball over to Diego Fagundes. Fagundes drove that ball into the box. So he's on the box. He's in the box on the left-hand side. He sees that he's getting double teamed. Now, John Nelson, I was going to say the part I'm not allowed to say out loud. John Nelson gets over there and makes the run. And Diego talked about it after the game. He said, I was going to backheel it to John. And he goes, and then I saw that as soon as John made that overlap, that the defender sort of crashed on him, and we were going to head that direction. So John Nelson makes the run on the outside. It's a nothing run, by the way. It's like the worst thing you can do as a defender is go get that run. That run's not the dangerous one. Diego Fagundes, inside the box, is the guy you have to worry about. He's right in front of you, and he's inside the box, and he has it. But it's hard because you're trying to anticipate. And sometimes if you anticipate, the good players will make you pay. He did a little like hip swivel too. Like he shifted those shoulders. He wiggled the hips. He was Shakira, and away he went.
Yeah, his hips did not lie there. I'm glad you shouted out John Nelson, who's been fantastic for the G's since he's been getting a lot more minutes. And that's one of the funny things about attackers, especially when you talk about guys like Dejan Jovalic, where they don't get a lot of credit for those runs that they make where they don't receive the ball because they don't receive the ball and they become of no consequence. But those runs are almost more important than the ones that they get where it's they're in open space and they're one-on-one the keeper.
Right.
Of course that's a no-brainer. Of course you're going to dish it off. But when you make that run, that open space for the other players, that's, to me, when you see it, that's such a huge thing. That's what you dream of, is someone making the run, a defender biting, and then you getting all that space to have your way with it. And there was still work to do. Even though Fagundes had the space, he still had to absolutely curl that thing, and it was really a beautiful goal.
Nice goal.
They were saying, goal of the Leagues Cup.
Yeah.
I don't know. I haven't watched all 722 games that happened, with teams being eliminated before the Galaxy even played, but it was a beautiful goal. I'll give them that.
So the Galaxy take that 1-0 lead again. They allow it they allow the goal on the Brugman mistake there. And then it is up to Riqui Puig. It is up to Miki Yamane. By the way, I would like to point out Miki Yamane had the highest rating on FOTMob, and probably he should. Had an outstanding game. I would like to point out that in my observation of this game, that Miki Yamane made the run, the same run that he got, that Riqui Puig found him and then cut the ball, and then Yamane cuts the ball back to Barry, and Barry scores. We're going to talk about all those things here in a second. But I would like to make that was probably the 4th, 5th, 6th time in that game that run had been made, and they didn't connect on a single one. Puig was either wrong angle, too much, not enough room. Like there was a whole bunch of stuff that just never seemed to work out. And this is go ahead.
I'm tired of having this argument. It's Ricky being Ricky. We always talk about, well, he gives away the ball, or he tries to thread the needle. Uh-huh. We've been talking about this all season long, and and I'm saying this tongue in cheek, but it is getting a little bit boring to have the conversation, because that's why you make the run to test it out. And he's going to try it 3 times, and maybe it's not going to work 2 of those times, but when it does,
it's going to work one.
That's the one that's going to count, and that you're going to need. And so, not to say that I'm gonna bang the Ricky drum all day long. This is Ricky being Ricky. This is what you signed up for. This is exactly what you want. But kudos to him for continuing to try the ball, and Yamane for being there.
I just like how you get into the position where Riqui Puig gets into the position, Eric, and it's like it feels like there's no danger there. They have the goal covered, right? And you're like, not a problem. Riqui Puig is, he's got space, but it's not a dangerous space. He's not going to take a shot from there. And where's everybody going to go? Everybody's covered. Well, then Yamane slips in behind, and by the way, way onside, wasn't even close.
Timing was perfect.
Let's be very clear. The ball never hits the ground after Ricky kicks it into the air, right? It goes all the way, full volley to Yamane. Yamane on that right-hand side, I think just outside the 6-yard box on that right side, crosses over across the goal in the air. And then that guy, Miguel, remember, his back of his shirt says Miguel. I guess we have to go there now.
San Miguel.
I was speaking to somebody at the Galaxy today, and we were talking about Miguel Barry, and I just said, I really enjoy doing a podcast for as long as I have, because when you get to do the podcast for as long as you have, you get to say stupid things and get called out on it, by people who for those of you who haven't been around for very long, and even if you've been around for 10 years, you wouldn't have caught this. Whenever we first started doing the podcast, one of the focuses of my ire in 2009 was none other than Mr. Mike Magee. Okay? Mike Magee, whenever Bruce Arena first brought him in, was sort of like, okay, he's okay. He misses some chances. He didn't set the world on fire right out of the gate. And
he wasn't the Mike Magee we now know.
Right. And by the way, he always was. I just wasn't. It's like, oh, I'm sorry, I wasn't familiar with your game. Right. That was like one of those. But in the regular season, it just wasn't that big. It was like, I'm like, everybody likes this Mike Magee. And I just, he seems overrated to me, blah, blah, blah. And I would go in and like studs up, just swinging through, like, no idea. And then it came to like 2009, you get into the playoffs, and Mike Magee, Mr. Playoffs. The guy, 2010, 2011, you knew whenever he got the ball, he was going to score, right? And he would just start. So it's fun to do this, think that you're so right about something, and then have a player just like throw the double birds up right there. And it's like, no. And it's, by the way, I don't think Miguel Berry knows what I have said about him. I don't think that's the case. I hope not. I would hope I would hope no player ever listens to this show. Please don't listen to this show. All right? I mean, who am I, right? Whenever it comes down to it, I've been doing this for 16 years. Who am I? I think I can see things. I'll tell you right now, I doubt I can think as well as you guys in the professional level. I understand that. And hopefully I call that out enough where it's like, oh, let's compare ourselves to professional athletes. You and I talk about this all the time.
That's our favorite bit of the show,
right?
Where everyone gets to drink. Where I say, well, when I played indoor soccer in Garden Grove, we had a different strategy that Greg Vanney should be taking when he's in Leagues Cup. I'll say this, similar to the Diego Fagundes take that we were talking about. Hey, last season, with his season that he had in Austin, and from what he delivered for the Galaxy, going into this season having question marks on it, I think they were valid. He's shut us up and proved us wrong and made the case where he's now a team MVP candidate. I think Miguel Berry, we saw what we saw also.
We're not totally wrong. I just want to say
but this is his role.
Yes.
This is his role. Come off the bench, make magic happen, throw your body out there, make it happen. So if he keeps executing his role and keep making us look stupid, I'll take it all night long. And the other thing, to your point about Fagundes being well loved in the locker room, Miguel Berry is another one of those guys.
Oh,
for whatever,
love him.
I say this, it sounds like
for whatever reason.
For whatever reason,
yeah.
But Miguel Berry has that locker room around him, and I think sometimes you see Riqui Puig, kind of clapping back at social media with Sasha Kleshin. That was kind of the banter for the All-Star game.
That's
for
bit.
Fun.
That's a bit, everybody. I just want everybody to know. Like, I genuinely think they like each other. It's fun, but it also gets its point across, right?
But it also shows that these players do look online. Maybe they're not listening to our podcast, but they do see the slander online and they see it happen. And I think, okay, maybe people aren't going after Riqui, but Riqui sees people going after Miguel Berry. And he says these guys keep going after Miguel Berry. So when he does score and he does deliver, you as his teammate, you feel that extra ownership, that extra excitement, and it makes you that much more hyped. And I think you see that when he scores. The players get more excited when Miguel Berry scores than maybe when other players score because they know what it means. They know the struggle that he's kind of going through. And so when it does click, it happens. And so this is who we thought we were getting, someone who's going to come off the bench when you need a late goal. He's going to be the one that delivers. And so
he's a late goal guy.
If this is his if he takes the Alan Gordon role, I'm not gonna be upset. I will buy the Miguel Berry jersey and keep singing his praises and light the candle because this is exactly the role we want him to be in. Is what he delivered against San Jose.
Mr. Kevin Acevedo says, notably, all three of Berry's goals across all competitions this season have come in the 89th minute or later. Dude likes to have a coffee after dinner. You know what I mean? Like, he's like, we're gonna calm. I know we ate, and we know we ate, but you know what? Let's sit here. Let's digest. Let's have a little coffee before we go home. Maybe we'll have a little dessert. Maybe let's play it out. He leaves it to the end. I thought it was a good play. I thought it was a good move. I actually thought he had a pretty good look earlier in that as well when he turned in the box and created some space and used his body well.
Was it after that he also had another turn and shot?
I think that was
it was, okay, but yeah, it wasn't a great shot, but I hadn't seen that. We hadn't seen that element. So again, maybe the goal gives him the confidence to do that. So yeah, keep bringing it up.
Yeah, it is. I will also say that we still see what we see with Miguel Berry. You're not going to get the world beater, but
And not as a starter.
no, not as a starter. That doesn't work. That doesn't work. But you know what? I'm here to watch, observe, and to be proven wrong, Miguel Berry. And if you want to go out there and do that, I think you should. And if he's playing with a chip on his shoulder because fans don't like him, if he's playing with a chip on his shoulder because I said that a dead Pele might be better than him,
Jesus.
I did. I said that. If he and that
You said you didn't want to say that.
I said I
You
didn't,
said it
and
by
I
saying,
haven't said it. I still haven't said it. I didn't say that. But that's then hopefully that starts. And by the way, you're right. They celebrate his goals as much as anybody on the team, and that's this team. They're like, that's right. Miguel Berry just scored.
Yeah.
You know,
and this is thou not protest too much. If you want to talk about a guy who had limited goal production but was well liked by his teammates, comparing yourself to
There you go.
professional athletes.
That's what-
Look
yeah.
no further. I didn't score a lot of goals when I played, but I was a fun guy to have on the roster. You need guys like me.
in men's over
who am I-
35
yeah, who am
indoor
I?
rec league co-ed.
So who am I to be upset at Miguel Berry for playing that role?
We have a couple super chats. We didn't get to them. Aaron gave us a $2 super chat. All right, one super chat for irregardless. So see, it still works. We can still
We
pull
got
up.
him.
Yeah, we got him again.
We got him.
Jeff, by the way, $2 super chat. Josh, a Boeing 747 or an A380? Eric, do you have any thoughts on the Boeing 747 or the A380? Do you like one better than the other?
I prefer the A380.
Okay.
Airbus. I know it's a cool thing to push back against Boeing right now, but in my travels, an A380, I'll take it. When I feel better about the trip.
Right.
When I see those letters on the itinerary.
I will say, Jeff, that if you're on either one of those planes, you're probably going somewhere fun, right? I mean, automatically you're like, oh, this isn't a trip to Phoenix. We're not going to Phoenix.
Yeah,
right?
the little one to Phoenix is not a fun time. From
No,
Fresno to Phoenix, I can attest.
You
to
can
that.
attest that, right? It's not. You're usually going somewhere fun. Funny enough, on my honeymoon, we flew, I think, a A380 out. And then a 787 coming back whenever we went to Paris and London and did all that stuff. So I really like the 787. It's fun. But I will say this, it's going to be the 747. It's the queen of the skies, the 747-400. That was built back when Boeing knew how to make airplanes and they didn't fall apart. And so I got to ride on one of those not too long before they started retiring them at British Airways, and just absolutely wonderful airplane. And it's not made the newer planes feel like they're made of plastic more because they are carbon fiber and all that stuff. So they rattle a little more and that type of thing. But thank you, Jeff. I appreciate that. That's an excellent question.
Good question.
Yeah.
Way to go off topic here.
Little sidetrack, and that's fine. That's what you get here. And, I see it. There's one guy who keeps waiting for Kevin to come back because he goes, when Kevin's on, they talk about soccer. And I'm like, I can't believe Kevin has a fan.
Is that a shot at me?
Right?
Is that a shot at me?
I think it's a shot. It's definitely a shot at me, right? Because Josh doesn't know what he's talking about. I'm like, I wrote back to him and I said, Kevin's really happy that he has a fan. You might be the first one. So all that
Shout
stuff.
out to Kevin.
He's out covering the Paris Olympics. So we are entering the time when I can start texting Kevin, and we have about an hour where we're overlapping.
That's true, the overlap.
Yeah, the overlap. And so I talked to him last night a little bit. He texted me, did Miguel Berry score? That was his text at 7:30 in the morning.
Yeah. What a way to wake up. Right? What a way to wake up that Miguel Berry has just scored and solidified the Galaxy's spot in the knockout round. Yeah.
Mr. Provino, $5 super chat. Hello from Lexington and the Bourbon Trail the weekend before school starts. Welcome back to the Classroom Hammer. I know you, mister. You're back teaching. You're teaching and molding young minds. I don't know what they're thinking.
Youths. Yeah.
Do they know what you do on this podcast?
Hopefully not. Hopefully they'll never find out. Don't get fired. That's rule number 1. Yeah.
Let's see. The match. Let's go over some stats real quick. But the match between the LA Galaxy and San Jose was the 102nd overall between the two teams across all competitions. The LA Galaxy leading that series 50-33. With 19 draws in there, 168 goals for, 143 goals against for the LA Galaxy. Right now, against San Jose, LA holds 40, 28, and 17 record in league play, a 4-1-1 record in the Lamar Hunt U.S. Open Cup, a 1-0-0 record in Leagues Cup, and a 5-4-1 record in the MLS Cup playoffs. Notably, the Galaxy are unbeaten in 4 matches played across all competitions against the Earthquakes, 4-0-0, 12 goals for, 5 goals against during the 2024 campaign. Additionally, LA is unbeaten in its last 7 matches played on the road across all competitions against San Jose, dating back to June 26, 2021. It's a rout.
Wow.
I was reading that. I'm like, there's more?
Not good.
It was like...
It keeps going, yeah.
I was like, it was Steve Jobs all over again. Wait, there's more, right? And so they had that in there. I'm trying to see. Diego Fagundez notched his 5th goal in 27 appearances across all competitions. Miguel Berry scored his 3rd goal off the bench across all competitions. In his last 3 appearances across all competitions, dating back to July 17th, Fagundez has recorded 4 goal contributions, 2 goals, 2 assists. Again, we're talking about a guy who's just on fire. Gabriele Pec got his 11th assist in this one. In his last 10 appearances across all competitions, dating back to June 15th, Gabriele Pec has tallied 13 goal contributions, 6 goals, 7 assists. Miki Yamane tallied an assist, recorded a game-high 6 chances created, completed 55 of 58 passes, 94.8%, won 4 of 6 duels, and won 5 possessions in the win over San Jose. Guy had a monster quiet game.
Yeah, I was going to say, can I say something as you're going through this? We talked a lot, I think last time I was on, about Vibes FC, how, the Galaxy are really a team powered by vibes. And as you're describing the roster composition, I'm just thinking about what makes a great team is having a lot of kind of diversity in different personalities, where you have someone like Riqui Puig, who's played at the highest level at Barcelona, with some of the best names on the planet. So you have someone like that. Then you have someone, a Ghanaian aspiring pop singer, who's with Joseph Paintsill doing his thing. You have Gabriele Pec, who's giving Bible lesson studies on Instagram, doing his thing, and then you have Miki Yamane and Maya Yoshida, like the father-son combo. I came here to play with my son, Maya Yoshida, serious in the back, and then here's my son, Miki Yamane, who's going to swashbuckle forward, and they bring their own kind of Japanese influence to it.
They do.
And I think when you bring all these different pieces, sometimes it can create chaos, but sometimes when you have a team that has all these kind of, I'm not going to call them, it's not that they're wacky personalities, but distinct personalities, and they all feed off of each other. It's not a group mindset or group think. You have people that bring different perspectives in. I think that there's something about that. Tactics, Vanny ball, whatever you want, but I think there's something about this roster composition that adds that little extra special, and why we're seeing that difference, and where we keep talking about vibes and going back to that, and the pictures being posted on the wall, and and everything that goes into that. I think that's a real thing. And as you're describing all these different players and how hot they've been, it's all their different. This is not the same profile of guy every time. It's all these different pieces of the puzzle that are all coming together. So that's just something that popped into my head as you're going over that.
Okay. I also wanted to do this, and this is more of a joke than anything, so I don't want people to get excited, but we do have LA Galaxy breaking news. I know you're surprised. Everybody's surprised, but LA Galaxy breaking news.
What could it be?
I have actual proof. Remember, I told you this was going to be a joke mostly. I have actual proof that Riqui Puig played defense on Wednesday night.
Get the clip. Play the clip.
Play the clip. Ricky's going to come after me for this, I'm sure. Riqui Puig, he was named the Geico man of the match, completed 107 of 122 passes, 87.7%, created 5 chances, won 7 of 13 duels. Excuse me, what? Won 7 of 13 duels and 3 of 4 tackles. That's called defense. Riqui Puig played some defense, and it helped everybody out. So I thought that was really interesting. And then, of course, they noted that Gaston Brugman came in and had 18 minutes in relief there. So that's the big thing. Greg Vanney sort of was talking about Diego Fagundez. One of the big things that happened is Diego Fagundez came out of this game. Mauricio Cuevas replaced him whenever he came off. He rolled his ankle. That's what we know. Now, the injury update from Greg Vanney is he rolled his ankle. I don't know how bad it is, but seeing him, and this is me paraphrasing what Greg Vanney said, but seeing him after the game leads me to believe it's probably more short-term than long-term. The good news is the Galaxy don't play again until August 24th. So even if you wanted to shut him down, yeah, I know, we think, until August 24th. Basically, the final for Leagues Cup, August 25th? Right.
Yes,
so
August
if the LA Galaxy somehow made it to the final of Leagues Cup, then they would probably move the August 24th game. I would imagine they'd have to. So that's something to keep in mind. I've already told you to keep August 24th on your calendars and mark it down. We are expecting to have something for you, and I'm hoping by next week I can announce all of this.
I was going to say the people were expecting German signing with the breaking news. I was expecting that discussion with the breaking news, but wait another week. Mark your calendars for the 24th.
Yeah, I know. I told everybody it was a joke before I did the breaking news. Like, I said it because I didn't want people to get angry. I like to have fun on this game, or on this show too, and that was fun for me. But basically, with the with the injury, Greg Vandy said he thought it was more short term than long term. One of the goals in Leagues Cup is not to get injured. I think for the most part, if this is a short-term little thing, and afterwards, Diego Fagundez was walking around the field, he's limping a little bit too, right? And so you're like, come on, that's no, right? So
but just the fact that he's limping, he wasn't, sitting on the sideline, icing it and something like that. I'm sure he iced it afterward. But, I think back to Lionel Messi in the Copa America final, that rolling of the ankle, that was that's a rolling of the ankle going terribly wrong. And I don't think that's the same degree to what we saw, thankfully, knocking on wood with Diego Fagundez.
One other thing, I got Jams pointed this out earlier, and I wanted to point it out because I got more questions about this than the Johnny Perez transfer. Have we even talked about the Johnny Perez transfer? I don't think we've talked about the Johnny Perez transfer. We can talk about it in a second.
Official. Breaking news.
Yeah, breaking news. Here we go. But speaking of, things that got people all worked up was having Brady Scott, the third LA Galaxy goalkeeper, on the bench on Wednesday night. People were flipped. McCarthy and Scott? Why would you have two goalkeepers? What is this wizardry that you're trying to pull off? And I was like, hey, whenever you're playing San Jose, it's always a good idea to have an extra keeper. You never know when you're going to need it. Mike McGee would agree. I don't think Mike McGee wanted to play goalkeeper.
Yeah.
Somebody pointed out that the Galaxy had already
yeah.
used the subs in that game, so it wouldn't have helped. But I still maintain that it's still, you never know.
Yeah. And are the Leagues Cup roster rules different? Do they need to dress a certain number of players? Because I know you have to put the whole roster out. So part of me thinks if you're allowed to have 23 players or 25 players more than what you normally have, then it would make sense why you'd have an extra goalkeeper in terms of the roster rules. I don't know
think
if
there's any roster rules specifically that are like you have to dress everybody, but I mean ultimately if you're Greg Vanny, you're getting Brady Scott some senior team hangout time.
Gets to
hang
travel.
out with us. Yeah, gets to travel, gets to sit on the bench, gets to sit next to John McCarthy. They get to talk about Mitrovic and what he's doing, right? So you're looking at it's just all development. You don't have to worry about it. And by the way, maybe if Mitrovic needed to come out, maybe Brady Scott was going to go in instead of John McCarthy. I wouldn't be surprised. Maybe everybody should have.
I feel like that's the setup, yeah.
And maybe everybody should have asked why John McCarthy was on the bench with Brady Scott, right? So, so it is one of those things that we can sort of look at and pay attention to. Let's get to some of the transfer news because we haven't talked about Johnny Perez. This is an interesting one. I had told everybody on Monday that I had learned that the transfer term was for 12 months. The news came out on Johnny Perez that what it actually was a 12-month with a possibility of extending it up to 18 months. I'm going to tell you what I've learned about that just because there's some technical stuff that is going on here. Basically, there is an exclusive purchase option for Johnny Perez from Nashville before the LA Galaxy can recall him in the summertime. It's right before, right? So, and whenever I talk to anybody, they're not saying, oh, he'll be back in 18 months. They're like 12 months. Like everything, I think anything that's going to happen is going to happen in this 12 months.
On paper, it could be 18 months.
It could, but I don't think it's the terms of this are oddly specific. Like it's one of those things where I'm like, I don't think I've ever seen anything like listed in this way, right? And basically, in exchange for the super draft priority of Liam McKinnon, as far as I know, there's no money changing hands on any of this. This would be a lot for the LA Galaxy to lose somebody like Johnny Perez. Now, I'm sure there is a healthy purchase number. Perhaps is that if they do, they never say how much the purchase option, but there's a purchase number in there. So I would imagine there's still money that can trade hands. And then the Galaxy would also get the super draft rights to this guy. This is a guy who plays in USL right now, by the way, right? So he got drafted.
So did Johnny Perez at some point, to be fair.
So that's how it sort of all sits is the Galaxy, at least from what I can tell, and maybe I'm reading the room wrong. This is an opinion. I just talking to people and trying to find out. The Galaxy feel like they're going to get Perez back. Right, like they and that makes a lot of sense for what they're trying to do as well. I wouldn't be surprised if he come back. Maybe the purchase option is high. It's a couple $1 million. Maybe it's $3 million, $4 million. I don't know what it is, but it might make him very expensive to buy in Major League Soccer. Now, if he goes out and performs and really flies, then the Galaxy get that money, and it all goes in their pocket. I would expect that it is at least equal to some of the offers that I think they've been getting from Mexican teams and that type of thing. So I think that there's enough in there for the LA Galaxy to go after. that they're not going to lose Perez for nothing. However, there's a chance that they might not get him back, although I think that's the plan, is they're going to get him back.
Yeah, we say that number just because of what we heard, but $3 million feels like that is what you'd be willing if Nashville wanted to purchase him outright, where you'd feel comfortable. Maybe if they held on to him and, he had some good season with the Galaxy, you can, sell him for a little bit more.
I never know.
At this point, you never know how things pan out. So if you can get 2-3 mil for him now, then that's where you go. Why I'm okay with the move. One, we don't see a lot of loans within the league.
Right.
So I think this is unique already in that situation. But with the way Pincel has been playing, Fagundes has been playing, Pec has been playing, as much as I loved Johnny Perez, every time he touched the field, I loved the energy he brought. I would have loved to see him get more minutes. There just aren't minutes on him, or aren't minutes, for him on this team. So go to Nashville, who's struggling. They're looking to fill that Tyler Boyd spot.
Exactly.
Get minutes, get better, play against MLS opponents, put yourself in these situations where you're going to battle test, and then come back in 6 months. And then who knows, with injury situations and the way things pan out, Johnny Perez could be filling in that Diego Fagundes role wherever you need him in the midfield. Maybe you need him on the wing. Maybe you need him to spell some time as a forward. And so you're able to kind of slot him in that role next season or the season after that. So I'm okay with this move as much as, and that's to say that's someone who I really enjoyed watching him play when he hit the field. I was clamoring for more minutes. He got more minutes and then he got injured. So it's just kind of unfortunate where it went. But you see how the Galaxy are playing now. And I don't think, especially if you're bringing Reus in, where the extra minutes are going to come from, especially if you're bringing players off the bench, and if Reus is going to be one of those guys, given the option between Perez or Reus, I think it makes it a little bit easier of a decision.
There is rumblings that the Reus thing is progressing, right? That type of thing. I don't want you to think that there's nothing. The tweets, and I think Alex and I talked about it on Monday, but the tweets were sort of coming out like there was like some sort of something wrong in that, and I didn't get that at all from anybody I talked to. I was like, no, I think this is just normal progression of things. So I wouldn't be surprised if the Reus announcement comes this week, next week. I mean, it's close. I don't want to, if I try to set a timeline, guaranteed it won't be met, right? Like, it's one of those. And I don't think they're in any super hurry to get him in. They're like, we have time. We're going to work him into everything. And then he's going to be available whenever we come back on August
for the
24th.
home stretch.
Yeah, exactly. So I think that's a good one. Bam Dad says $5 super chat. Brady Scott was on the bench for PKs. He's been on fire for Ventura County FC.
There's your answer.
See, that's why, and I love it. Put him in. Put me in, coach. I'm ready to play.
From what I'm understanding, and this is anecdotal, I was a little bit skeptical about the VCFC, the Ventura County move, because of the trouble that G2 had filling the stadium and those games not necessarily being the most exciting thing to go to. It seems like those Ventura County games are a fun time.
I do want to drive up there for a game.
Yeah, so it seems like there's something there that they're building on, and so kudos to them, because that was something I was skeptical of. But it seems like they got something going on there. So kudos to them for what they have.
It is. Let's go to a little bit more transfer news and stuff that you may have seen today. Tom Bogert reporting that highly rated U.S. Youth International forward Matthias Albert has officially signed with Borussia Dortmund. Albert, 15, departs the LA Galaxy Academy. And this is Tom Bogert says, scouts have raved to me about him at GA Cup, officially started at Dortmund. So Borussia Dortmund. Now, lots of people going, hey, how come the LA Galaxy didn't get anything? Blah, 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 whole deal. This is going to be a pretty unique situation. One is, I was told specifically, this is an extremely talented player. And the LA Galaxy just love them.
Tons of highlight reels.
Just
at
so
this
good.
age, which is crazy. Yeah.
Here's the thing. He has a German mom. He has a French dad, right? So Europe is like easy there, right? Remember, for most people, it's hard to get a work visa to go in and play at some of these academies and do stuff. One, because of age. You have to be a certain age in order to do that, and two is you have to have a link to somebody who can get you that European passport that gets you everything that you need to have, right?
Look no further than Kevin Sullivan. Those deals that are put in place for him to go over. When he turns 17 or 18, the reason why he's not there now is because he doesn't have the European connection to get the passport or to get the citizenship, card to make that process with the visa faster. So again, to your point, when you have, Germany, France, connections to those countries, that's going to make the process a lot easier. And as much as you don't want to, we've had this discussion when Dennis DeClosa was on the team, you don't want to lose your academy players, overseas, because, you miss out on opportunities, to make profit off of that. But in these situations, I think this feels a little bit different than maybe some of the moves that happen with earlier academy players.
Yeah, and you can see that. The big deal, of course, is one of his parents actually got a job in Germany as well, right? So like all of this stuff, it's like when you're 15, you're moving with your parents if they're going somewhere too, right? And
also true.
And it's not like he's like, oh, gee, I wonder where I'm going to play, Borussia Dortmund's like, we want him. We want him in there. So we'll see. There might be some, development training money and stuff like that eventually comes through. I don't know, and I haven't seen the details of any of that yet. But this is a pretty unique situation. It's not one that I think most of the academy kids are going to fall into that have like two international parents able to go and play, in Europe rather easily without too much problem. So that's another thing that sort of pops in there. All right. Let's move on a little bit here as we get into it. The standings in your West 2 category for the LA Galaxy right now. They're at 3 points. Again, the first win ever for them in Leagues Cup competition. And so they now sit at the top of that table with 3 points. They automatically go through now because they are going to finish either in the first position or the second position. And now San Jose has to watch. Should the LA Galaxy beat Chivas, and they keep them below, the 2 points, and then there's tiebreakers for other things. If like it was a penalty kick, finish, and I should mention it goes directly to penalty kicks, right?
Yes.
It goes out, and then you're right into penalty kicks. There has to be a winner. You get 1 point for a draw. You get 2 points for winning the penalty kick. So you get that extra point. That's why San Jose has 2 points, and that's why Chivas has 1 because they lost that penalty kick shootout to San Jose 4-3 whenever they did it. So the LA Galaxy guaranteed to finish at least second. Now, there's some different options in here, right, Eric, for where they could play, who they could play, all that fun stuff, right?
Yeah. When we look at the bracket, there's so many different brackets, and I made a joke about the 146 games that you're going to play. But if you're looking ahead, because the Galaxy will be moving on to the next round, they're in West 2. If they finish in first, they'll play the runner-up of West 6, which is Seattle, Minnesota, and Necaxa. Right now, you have Seattle with 3 points. You have Minnesota with 3 points. But again, Seattle versus Necaxa is the final game. That could change in terms of who comes out on top. So directly your next opponent, it's going to be one of those 3 teams.
Right.
Regardless if you finish first or second, you'll either get, a Seattle finishing on top of the group, or you'll get, I think, if Seattle win, they'll be top of the group. If they lose, then you'll get into tiebreakers, and it will come into different situations. If you want to look further into the future, why not? Dare to dream, dare to Leagues Cup. You want to look at West 1 and West 7. That's the side of the bracket where the Galaxy land on. Right now, Austin's already clinched. They've have 6 points.
Right.
So between Austin, Pumas, and Monterrey, that's someone who could potentially be that round of 16 opponent, one of those teams. Or it can be West 7, which has LAFC, Vancouver, and Tijuana. Right. So right now, LAFC sitting on top with 4 points, Vancouver with 2 points. And then so those are the names of the teams who are going to be on the mix of Galaxy's side of the bracket. And if they happen to make it to a quarterfinal, it's going to pull from the same West 1, West 7, because everyone's kind of playing each other within the same round. You could get Chivas again if you end up losing to them, or you can get San Jose again. You could also get the Seattle group again. So again, it will the snake will start eating itself before you get in to the, to the other group. So if you want to look into it, West 2, Galaxy's group, plays West 6, runner up or leader of that group. And then if they move on, West 1 and West 7 are going to be your teams that are going to be in the mix if they move beyond to that before you get to a semifinal.
Very good. We look at the schedule that's coming up, and obviously 7:30 p.m. on Sunday. That is the next game. That's guaranteed, and then the game after that will be figured out whenever they have it. I think they're playing on the 7th. Is that correct? August 7th is whenever all the next sort of games. I think that's whenever that next round kicks off.
Sure.
I was looking at it earlier. So the Galaxy will play.
I didn't look that far. I looked at the bracket. I didn't look at the date.
If the date's at the top over there on the left-hand side, right? So, and I think it's August 7th. So you'll have the LA Galaxy. And again, reminder, Chivas is the home team in this game. We'll talk about that here in a second. 7:30 p.m. Is your start time. I believe 7:40 p.m. is going to be your kickoff time. It's going to be on MLS Season Pass, so you can watch that on TV, or you can go to this game that's coming up, and then there will be another game in here that's not currently listed because they don't know who they're playing yet, so that's coming up, but that will be listed in between there. So the LA Galaxy guaranteed 2 more Leagues Cup games. How many games, Eric, do they want to go? They want do they want this next one shut down, or do they want one more and shut down? Do they want to win? They want to play 3 more games in everything?
I think you want to play. Obviously, you play the Chivas game,
right?
You want to play the knockout round. You want to win that one,
okay,
and play one more round,
right?
And I want to see LAFC.
No, you not yet.
I want to add to it. Do the opposite thing.
You want to crown them?
Keep winning. No, not crown them. I'm just saying you want to keep seeing them, make them feel like they have that superiority, and then boom. And when MLS Cup playoffs happen, you hit them right on the other side of it.
Okay, I'm excited to see how this all sort of plays out. I don't know. I think you're right. I think 1 or 2. I think 3 more games total is probably the good look, and then shut it down. You have enough time to rest and ready for that August 24th.
Brugman's back.
Game.
He's been worked back into it.
Right.
He's got his 3 games.
Right.
You have your players who had the chemistry built, and then now you
play an inner squad in between. You're good to go, right? Yeah. And so everybody's happy. So we'll get there. Let's talk a little bit about this game. And again, 7:30 p.m., 7:40 p.m. I believe is the kickoff. This game will be on Sunday, August 4th. Late game on a Sunday. Just keep that in mind. I think we mentioned before that the LA Galaxy have one match against Chivas in their history not too long ago, and that was 1 win, a 2-0 win in that league.
Johnny Perez
at SoFi Stadium, right? One of the first events to open that stadium. So that's really important. I want to tell you a little bit about what to expect, and I don't think it's going to be too different at the stadium. But what I've been told is right now that game is trending towards the sellout, right? So you're going to expect a lot of people. I would say get there early. Don't stress about the parking. So get there a couple hours early and make yourself home. I would expect that Chivas fills up most of that stadium. This is usually what happens. If you've been around for Champions League or anything else, it's like this is a chance for Chivas as the home team, right, to come in and sort of do that. Chivas has their supporters in the southwest corner of the lower bowl, so you should expect to see that. I don't know, maybe breaking news. I'm not going to play the jingle, but maybe breaking news. All 4 supporters groups have their privileges back for this game. For the remainder of the games, I would imagine. Everything is now over and done with, and they are now have all their privileges back. So supporters groups will have their privileges back, and the LA Galaxy will be there. I don't know if they're switching sides on the bench, whether or not Chivas is going to sit like on the Galaxy side or whatever, but I don't think too much is changing for them being the home team more than that. So that's what's coming up on Sunday. I will not be there. I'll let everybody know. I have some family stuff to do on that day, so I'll be watching from home. But I probably still will be watching and tweeting along with the game, I would imagine. Yeah. You're not going to be there either?
I'm not going to be there. Okay. Yeah, unfortunately, I thought about it, but I got cold feet at the very end. I'll say this preemptively. I'll say I'm already anticipating people saying, "How are you going to, be outsold at your home stadium?" And I'll say this is a very different thing unless you've grown up in Southern California and seen how popular Chivas de Guadalajara is. They don't play at Dignity Health Sports Park every week. The Galaxy do. So the Galaxy have that benefit of having people who are going to be able to cycle through over the course of, a 34-game season with 17 games at home. You're going to have that benefit. Not that I'm making excuses, but those who are fans of Chivas de Guadalajara, this is their one opportunity to see their team play in the greater Los Angeles area. So they're going to snap up tickets, and they're going to go crazy, and they're going to be happy to be there. So do not be surprised when Galaxy fans are outnumbered and clutch your pearls and say, how can, we have our home stadium and have another fan base come in here? Come on, let's be realistic. Let's be real for call it for what it is.
Right.
Doesn't make Galaxy fans bad. No. Doesn't make them bad that they're unable to fill, their own stadium. It's a different thing altogether.
It was like San Jose whenever they played Chivas, and there were 50,000 people in the stadium, right? And it was 45,000 Chivas fans, right? And everybody's been talking about that as well. So it is what it is in this particular case. And it's one chance for the Chivas fans to get to see their team. Understand it. Makes sense. Yeah. So I think that you're going to find that Greg Vanney does rotate the roster in this particular case. Mm-hmm. This game matters not that much.
Yeah. Especially when you look at who you're going to are you gunning for Seattle or Minnesota? Right. Does it really matter? top or bottom. I think when you get to the knockouts, especially when you see the other games. So I'm with you. With the spot locked up, I don't think that you risk putting a lot of your same starters out there. So I agree. I think you'll see rotation.
Then come back, and on the 7th, you can go ahead and put in a full starting lineup again, and you get it. And Gaston Brugman's going to play probably on Sunday, and then Gaston Brugman's going to play in your knockout game, 3-4 days later. That stuff seems like it's all sort of lined up to happen already. It's important for them to get guys back. Maybe they find some. Maybe Julian Alde is on the cusp of coming back, and they want to make sure that he gets some time, right? Maybe Dejan Jovalic is close, and they're like, let's get him a little bit of time in there, right? We have to find those things out. We have to look at Diego Fagundes, whether or not he's going to get any time for the rest of this tournament, and maybe not, right? And shut it down. Need him for the play. Need him for the last 8 games. That's the most important thing that's out there right now. So I would say you're going to have to do your best as Galaxy fans not to expect the world, right? You can't expect
and not to
everything.
Be upset when Tucker Lepley can't win you the game and put it on his shoulders to make it happen. When you see that situation, don't be too shocked. And the narrative aspect, Chicharito did not suit up for the game against San Jose.
Injured, right?
He may have been, but we also know he has this game circled. He's going to play. He's going to start. He's going to be, So expect to see him from a narrative perspective. But so I think there's that component. He's going to be eager to try to get on the score sheet, but also keep an eye out for someone like Armando Gonzalez coming off the bench at forward, who, kind of like the Dejan Jovalic role where we've seen this movie with Chicharito where maybe he doesn't have it all the way. He puts a lot of the effort, and then someone comes in, to play garbage man and put it away. So, Chicharito's going to take the headlines, but he may not be the one who makes the Galaxy pay.
I'm expecting like an Emilio Garza start, right? Like this feels like this is time for him to start. Maybe next to Zavaleta, right? Like you're just like That's what
I'm saying. This is Tucker Lepley time.
Tucker Lepley, get him out there, let him play. Maybe Mauricio Cuevas, right, gets the start, like that type of. By the way, Cuevas has been really good. I still enjoy watching that kid play every time. He is just so excited to be on the field every time. It's like it's like me if I ever got to. I have been on the field during a game once, right? That was a long time ago, but I was on the field as part of the stretcher crew when a game against the LA Galaxy versus Chivas USA back in the day. One of the Chivas guys went down. We had to run across the field on the stretcher crew. They let the people be stretcher crew for like 3 games and then decided that was a bad idea. I could have told them that from the very beginning, right?
What could possibly go wrong?
Right, exactly. So that's what we have. So that's your setup for that. Just a reminder where the LA Galaxy sit in the Western Conference, because we have 4 more weeks of talking about this, and then then results actually matter.
I didn't even bother pulling the standings.
I know, right? And I was like, it's just here. I already have it set. I don't have to pull new ones. This is the same slide. Everything's exactly there. For the rest of it. There was one other super chat, Gary, $5 super chat. Always wanted to ask, but what brought about your love for trains? Such a unique interest. Also, thank you both for the show, gentlemen. Very rad. I will say already, I feel judged. Such a unique interest, really. I don't understand. Have you been unique
with those little trains?
With those little trains. I don't know, Gary. The funny thing is, have you seen the TikTok trend where they're like, they ask a girl like, what hobby makes a guy like undateable, right? And then she goes, Pokemon, right? And I was like, and then in my feeds, because it's all trains, there's guys who are like, they didn't say trains, we're still in, right? The whole deal. I got a train whenever I was 3.5 years old. I mean, for most people, I think it there's a lot of people like me in my hobby, right? Like type of thing. I love trains. I love planes. Automobiles are fine. They're not my favorite. Submarines, helicopters, hot air balloons, blimps, like you name it, it moves. I pretty much like it. Nice. And so that was always the thing. Got a train when I was 3 and then, went away from it. As I think if you're a responsible train lover, Eric, it sort of goes like this. You get a train when you're little. You're obsessed with them for a while. You turn about, 14, 15. And if you're like me, a boy, and you're interested in women, you switch completely over to chasing girls until you're all the way through college. And then, you get married, you have a kid, and then you come back to trains. It's not before that. Then you come back to trains. You
just described professional wrestling.
See, exactly.
As a kid, I'm all in.
Right.
I'm ripping the shirt off, getting the belt, then, girls come around, get married, have kids, and now my kids, through them, now I'm all in on professional wrestling again. So I can relate 100%.
And then I have a problem. I don't know if everybody realizes I have a problem, but I collect fake jobs. So then part of my thing is
this is number 1A.
This is 1A of my fake jobs that I do and have been doing for 16 years. And does it cost me more money than I make? Yes, absolutely, 100%. It's like trains cost me a lot of money, right? But it's one of those things that it is. Well, then I like to be in charge of things whenever I do stuff because I have ideas and I like to work together to make things happen. So I love being in charge of like groups or things like that. So that keeps me busy a lot. I will, there'll be a game coming up soon, and I've done it already multiple times this year where I've spent the entire day at the train club, like giving free rides to people and doing that stuff, and then ran home, showered, hopped in the car, and driven up to like Dignity Old Sports Park to be able to do it. My wife really loves those days.
Yeah, two jobs that are making no money.
No money
all day. Yeah,
yeah. It cost me so much money. But
fun times.
But it's a lot of good. All right, LA Galaxy coming up against Chivas on Sunday. Remember, Chivas is the home team, southwest corner for their fans. I would say expect an appropriate amount of security. That's what I would say. So again, you want to get to your places early.
Be safe as well. Yeah.
Yeah, be safe. Enjoy it. Have fun. I think it could be a really fun atmosphere, a really fun game. But remember, it means relatively little in the long run for the LA Galaxy, except that you want to see guys getting playing time and you don't want people getting hurt, right? That's basically the same mark we've been talking about for most of these games. So anything else, Eric?
I found betting odds.
Yes.
D ratings didn't have it. Bovada didn't. Finding Leagues Cup betting odds, I felt like a degenerate. Like they're not easily available. But I did find one site that had it. BetBrain had it. They have Chivas as a plus 175.
I'll take that.
Odds, and then they have the Galaxy at plus 130. So
I take
again,
Chivas
it's kind
all
of
day
a
long.
weird.
It's a weird.
It's kind of an interesting situation. And then plus 250 for a draw. So not expecting a draw if you wanted to go. I don't know if that penalties count into that or how that works.
They can't have a draw, so that's why it's plus 250.
Ordinary time, yeah. I don't know. Again, how reputable these sites are, but if you wanted odds, apparently they're out there. If you search hard enough. Do we want predictions?
Yeah, go for it. I mean, I don't know how you could possibly try to handicap this. By the way, I would say. Like don't bet on this game. Don't be stupid. Like this is one of those games. Like not bet on this game.
There's a reason why it's not available. It's
right?
Like this is like betting on synchronized diving in the Olympics. Like who's really betting on this? If you want my guaranteed to be wrong prediction,
yes,
I'll give my dream scenario
right
first. I would love a 1-1 draw and a win in PKs.
Ooh,
I want to see how this team reacts in a shootout. I want to see Mitrovic in a penalty shootout.
Okay.
I want to see Galaxy pick 5
right.
penalty kick takers.
Right.
I want to see that. That being said,
yeah, go ahead.
I don't think that's going to happen. I think with the next round secure, they took the foot off the gas. They rotate. I think they lose 2-1, 3-1.
Chivas win 4-1, and it
4-1.
gets away.
I wouldn't be shocked. It
gets away in the last 20 minutes, right? It's like one of those. It's like 1-1 in the last 20 minutes, and then it gets away rather quickly. I have more news for you. Actually, see the text messages come in at a good time.
They keep coming. That's why don't leave yet, chat.
I know. Everybody's like, "Oh, good night, everybody."
Everyone's saying good night. No, what is this?
Yeah, keep
got
staying
another
there.
40 minutes, guys.
Yeah, we will go all night. We're like Miguel Berry. We save it for late.
Yeah, we had our late coffee.
More retrograde items will be dropping next week. Shirts and a jacket. I'm talking brand new, never seen before items for the retrograde stuff. You're getting more stuff. I feel like I'm Oprah anymore. It's like there's more retrograde stuff. I also would say that there's I got a note on Tuesday that there was a full restock on jerseys at the team store, extra small all the way to 3XL. Let's go. There. So
we're back, baby.
Shout out to everybody who's doing a great job. Just doing a fabulous job. I talked a little bit to Will Misselbrook about it. I talked to Tom Braun about the release and everything, and I think I've been around enough to be able to gauge some of this, but this just feels like the release was like a fan made this for you. Like somebody who loves the LA Galaxy made this. Yeah,
it's a love letter. Yeah.
And it's not, it doesn't pander to the past. There's none of that. It is forward, but retrospective, right? You're like,
It's everything we wanted.
You played it. It's like whenever the last Jurassic Park came out, and you're sort of like, man, they're playing all the hits, right? And you're
Exactly.
like, this, I like it.
It was maybe not a good film, but it's the film I wanted to see.
It's the film I wanted to see. That's right. I give it 5 stars all day long. So any of you who've already spent all your money on retrograde stuff, I don't know what to tell you. Maybe run.
Take out a loan. Yeah.
Right? Take out a loan. Get another credit card. Go run some Uber Eats stuff for a couple nights. That type of thing. But you're going to need more because more stuff is coming. So that's good as well. You also had one last thing. I think there was a shout out to a listener. Yes, go ahead.
I had a couple different shout outs. So first of all, as I mentioned earlier in the show, going back in the classroom on my social media, I did make a post about an Amazon wish list for. I've been out of the classroom. All my stuff that I had is long gone. So needing to refill a classroom with everything that you need, I posted a wish list. And so COG listeners pulled through. Carlos, Tina and Bruce, executive producer Herb sent some items. We had a box from Sharon come in today. So just know from the bottom of my heart, it's much appreciated. That you're going to be, on behalf of my class who doesn't even know that they're getting these items yet.
Right.
Huge thank you, to supporting, education and making things work. So that's my first set of shout outs.
Okay.
And then we had a second one.
Yes. I'm ready.
Excuse me.
Yes.
Silos and his family reached out via Instagram. He mentioned, if he can get a shout out for his son, Santiago was born on July 20th.
Ooh.
They had some complications. So happy birthday, Santiago, but everything pulled through.
Nice job.
So just wishing many blessings to Silos and his family, and happy birthday, Santiago. Welcome to the Galaxy.
Only 3
much
days.
appreciated.
Only 3 days before my birthday. I would like to point out, just you're on the Cancer Leo cusp right there. Okay, just you're going to have a little bit of both. You're going to want to take charge, and you're going to have all those traits of cancers as well. So there's a good combination.
I've heard that. My son's a bubble kid on one of those. Yeah, in March, and they say that's a good thing.
It's a cusp. Okay, it's called a cusp. Okay, just use the terminology right.
Sure, the bubble.
That matters. The bubble kid. That's how it goes. But no, congratulations. That's awesome. Really looking forward to it. Adam, $2 super chat before we close out. Are you looking forward to the Galaxy moving on? Only for 2 games. That's it. I refuse to play any more games than that. I will
move on enough.
Yes, move on just enough, right? We've already talked about this. We have stuff coming up on August 24th, so the Galaxy cannot make the final,
up.
Right?
Don't mess it up. Yeah.
LA Galaxy, please don't mess this up. So anyway, we'll have that going on. So we're excited about it. All right. I think we're done.
We're done.
Let's go ahead and shut it down. But the LA Galaxy playing Chivas coming up on Sunday. Everybody have a good time. Be safe. And on Monday, we'll be back in order to talk a lot more about the LA Galaxy, tell you when that next game is, and get you ready for the next round of the Leagues Cup. So, Eric, why don't you tell people where they can find you? Let's go.
All right. As always, you can find me on everything at Hammer EV9. That's Twitter, Instagram, all the fun things there. So at Hammer EV and the number 9.
All right, if you're looking for me on Twitter next, it's at Guesman, at Galaxy Podcast. Head on over to cornerofthegalaxy.com. You can certainly do that. Please do. And then all the places you can find your podcasts on SoundCloud, on iTunes, on Spotify, any of those places you can find them. And we appreciate your support on YouTube. Go ahead and follow us. We're almost at 3,000 subscribers. We'd really like to hit that number, and give us a thumbs up as well. I have my tech deck too, Eric. I got mine. You got yours. See? Yeah, I know. Tech decks are awesome. I have to keep it away from my kids, though, so that's the next hard thing. All right, for Mr. Eric, the Portuguese Hammer Vieira, I'm Josh, Pato Guesman. You've been listening. You've been watching to our little corner of the galaxy. Take it away, Mr. Michael Rajo.
You've been listening to the Corner of the Galaxy podcast on cornerofthegalaxy.com. You can follow the show on Twitter and Instagram at Galaxy Podcast. And be sure to check out and subscribe to iTunes, Stitcher, and Facebook by searching for Corner of the Galaxy. Fans, we thank you for listening, and we ask that you be kind and courteous to your neighbors as you leave the podcast. We thank you for joining us and look forward to seeing you again. Until then, I'm Michael Arajo, and on behalf of the entire Corner of the Galaxy crew, goodbye, everybody.